the very next year, life was changed for ZooCrew as we know it in '97. Tell us about that part right there, and I'm gonna add to it with my story because I want people to understand the magnitude of how big y'all was outside of that nonsense.
Well, what happened was in June '97, a young lady, Danette Strawberry Daniels, she was on Clinton and Chadwick, and she came out the corner store and asked a young guy for a quarter or something like that. This kid was like 15, 16. And as the police was pulling up, coming through Chadwick, approaching Clinton Avenue, they looked and they thought they were doing a drug transaction. And they got out the car and they threw the lady on the car, whatever. She was pregnant at the time. So people felt some type of way, the way he was, treating the lady that was pregnant. But she was a person in the community who used drugs. So everybody knew her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he put her in the back seat of the car. He handcuffed her to the front and put her in the back seat of the car. It was an unmarked police car, so it wasn't no guard, to separate the front seat from the back seat. So for whatever reason, I don't know, she climbed over the seat and threw the car in reverse. And the car started going backwards, and the officer jumped in the car and he shot her. He shot her in the head and he killed her. You know what I mean? So that happened on Clinton Avenue on the corner of Chadwick. And the community got outraged, man. And we were pretty much the face of the community. We had a little following. And at the end of the day, man, Jokers was, dealing drugs or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're a human being. You got feelings and emotions just like everybody else. So, the labels we put on people don't matter. They still human at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we stood up for the community, man. And rest in peace, Miri Baraka. I came down to Chadwick and riled up the people, and we stepped in when we shouldn't have because we wasn't all the way legit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we marched down to City Hall and protested against the police officer. And Sharp James sided with the people. Now '98 was coming up. That's an election year, so
exactly.
you got and then they start. Campaigning like a year ahead of time. So that was like his campaign that now that I look at it, when I got older. So he sided with the people and he suspended the Officer Robert Leaks, and the police officers got upset, and they formed their own little group. They had their own little marches. They had T-shirts with a Blue Crew on the front.
Yeah.
And ZooCrew on the back with bars, with hands holding on to the bars, and it had ZooCrew on the hands. And it was crazy at that time, man. It was like us against the police. And after that, it was they said they was doing a federal investigation. August '97, they raided and rounded up like 31 members, they say, of the ZooCrew, and I only knew about 8 of them that was actual ZooCrew people or whatever. And they kind of threw the name all on the front page of the Star Ledger and tried to discredit everything we was doing in the community. A couple of people had businesses. My friend had his clothing store on Clinton Avenue. His aunt had a flower shop on Chadwick. We was right on the cusp of coming out with some signing a record deal. Like a couple of guys was rapping, so they was on the cusp of doing that.
All of that.
Eric Williams was hanging around.
Yep.
You may not believe it, but he got traded from Boston to Denver.
Yep. I remember all of that. He used to come to the car wash with Big Sal, Black Sal from Hayes on car wash.
Right.
So we went to Eric's camp. So yeah, I remember all that's going down.
And that's why I try to tell people it was a serious little thing going on back then. And some of those people are still around that was a part of it. I'm talking about not the actual guys in the ZooCrew, but some of the police officers, some of the politicians, like they're still around. So a lot of that they hold against the actual ZooCrew name, you know what I mean? With a lot of things that we be trying to do. But we were, like I said, we were positive people if you take away the negativity we were doing. And, it kind of backfired because we shouldn't have came out in the forefront. My friend Terrence, they labeled as a drug kingpin, and he was one of the people that was on Channel 7 saying that, if he see the officer, he arrest him himself. He did that in front of his daughter, this and that. So he felt some type of way. And once that happened, you know, we became a target. He became target number one, and everybody else was underneath him. So, you know, and then they locked up some people, and it kind of tarnished the name a little bit, but I still kept pushing with the basketball because I know what the name meant to me and my friends. I wasn't listening to what everybody else was saying that it was. People were saying ZooCrew finished in this town and this and that. And, you know, it's only finished if you let them finish you. You know what I mean? So I kept it pushing.
See, this is the thing. So right after that, and I know you know because, and we're going to get into that because you're the only one of the only ones that didn't go away. You know?
Well, it was me and a couple of other guys, but I had got a phone call that morning, like 6 o'clock, and the person that called me, I had no direct connect with them. They was kind of friends with my friend.
Yeah.
And back then wasn't no cell phone, so this call came to my house phone.
Yeah, exactly.
And the first thing, you know, he said was they rounding up people from the ZooCrew. So I'm like, well, you know, who was this? You know, I don't want to throw no names out there because the person's still around. And I said, how you get my number? Like, you know, how you know my number? So, you know, it was like, I just went and sat in the living room, man. I ain't gonna sit in front, man. I went and sat in the living room. I mean, if you saw best shots, the same thing I said. I sat in the living room and waited for them to kick the door in because sometimes you're guilty by affiliation, or association, or whatever. But at the time, I wasn't doing nothing in '97 because I started ZooCrew in '96.
Yeah.
So I kind of dwindled away from the street part of it. I might have been doing a little 1-2, but not where people could see me like I was before. But no, I was kind of under the radar. So, but I just sat there and waited, man. They never kicked the door in, so I got lucky, man. And it's crazy because years later I was coaching a game. This was 2011. I was coaching a game at Livingston High School, and it was a guy sitting in the stands, and he looked so familiar, man. A white guy. I kept saying to myself, I know this guy from somewhere, but he's diverting my attention because I'm like, damn, where I know this guy from. So we lost the game. We should have never lost this game. We lost the game. And the guy came out the stands. He walked on the court. He was like, hey, man, what's going on? And I was like, yeah, what's going on? I said, where I know you from? He said, my name is Jim Morris. He said, I was the guy on the ZooCrew case. So I'm looking like, oh, man. He was like, yeah, man, we made the right decision. I said, what you mean you made the right decision? He was like, a couple of people wanted us to bring you in too, but we saw that you was working with the kids and we ain't really have nothing on you, so we let you go. And I was kind of stunned. So I was like, I looked at him, I said, you know what? Thank you. I got to get to my team. I walked away from him.
I was definitely.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It was crazy that he said he lived in Livingston and he knew I was coaching, so he came to the game. And it was crazy. And if I finally got like, because people was like, yo, why they ain't lock you up? Well, I don't know, but you can pull up any type of paperwork you want to pull up. I ain't on it. And my friends that got locked up, they home now. We still friends. So you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I got lucky, man.